I'll call the City Council regular meeting for Monday, October 1st, 2007 to order. Will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, Tracy, please.
Arbogast.
Here.
Garnis.
Here.
Gisselbeck.
Here.
Heller.
Here.
Meisenheimer.
Here.
Solberg. Solem. Walder.
Here.
Wilkins. And York.
Here.
Thank you.
Before I begin, I'd like to welcome Mr. Gall's government class to our meeting this evening, so thank you. You bet. Go Arrows. Agenda item number 1 is approval of the minutes of the City Council meeting held September 17th, 2007. Is there a motion? So moved by Alderman Heller and seconded by Alderman Solberg. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2 is the Westview 5th edition, and Rick, you'll lead us through that.
Thank you, Mayor. I will. Hi, David. The first thing we need to do is to have the second reading of the ordinance title. And it's ordinance number 07-27, entitled An Ordinance Amending Zoning District Boundaries by Rezoning Lot 16, Block 2, Westview 5th Edition, from R2 Single Family Attached District to R3 Multifamily Residential District.
I'll begin with the public hearing, and Rick, I'll let you begin the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. For those of you, just for everyone's information, I'll bring up on our GIS the location of Westview, of the Westview edition. We'll talk about which edition, but you can see, if you can see the pointer right now on the map, that's our filtration plant. It's 6th Avenue North. This must be like 13th Street Northwest. Foundation Fields is another great landmark, and of course the airport off to the left. Okay, I'll turn some parcel layers on, and I'll zoom in just a little bit closer. We'll talk about this a little bit more. In the matter of the rezoning, this petition came to us on August 17th. The Plan Commission heard this in a public hearing that was advertised, of course, in our local paper, and adjacent landowners were notified by certified mail. That hearing was on September 5th. We heard the first reading of the ordinance on September 17th. The applicant and petitioner is Steve Horning. Mr. Jack Carr is here on his behalf, and I see Ardell Austin as a representative of the consulting firm in this regard as well. I'll bring up a zoning map just to indicate the existing zoning in the neighborhood. I thought I was gonna. At any rate, the zoning to the north is agricultural. This is agricultural zoning district out here. R2A, I'm sorry, R2 is the zoning district of the remainder of the Westview edition in this general vicinity. The property is not currently occupied by any structures. It's unique in its shape. You can see lot 16 of block 2 is unique in its shape and narrow lot frontage due to the runway protection zone, which is bounded by this line here at the end of our runway. It's currently platted as a portion of lot 15. This entire area currently is lot 15, and when we talk about the replat, you can see that we're replatting this into in block 2 lots 15 and lot 16. That'll become a little bit more important at the plat time, but the rezoning again is limited to this area of lot 16 of block 2. Again, the adjacent zoning to the north is agricultural. We have R2A zoning to the south and the east, and the west is agricultural. We feel that we as staff feel that the proposed rezoning will be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Acts pretty good transitionally in terms of the land uses to the adjoining residential uses south and east of this site, and to the water treatment plant to the north and the airport to the west. Staff recommendation to the Plan Commission and to this body is for the approval of this rezoning request. And with that, I don't know if there's any other, well, there is a couple things. There were some landowners that provided a petition in opposition to the rezoning, just to bring that to your attention, and they appeared at the Plan Commission. I can show you a copy of that for your record. There you'll see there's a total of 6 people signed the petition. Very simply stated, the undersigned opposed the rezoning of Lot 16, Block 2, Westview Addition to the municipality of Watertown. And that was entered into the Plan Commission's record, as is yours. And the Plan Commission has recommended the rezoning to R3 in this matter.
What were their issues, Rick? What were they concerned about?
Well, I think they're concerned about what might become the ultimate land use. I think that's part of the issue.
I see.
There's a
and
couple
we
of
can
them in the
talk-
audience here, I think, that would
Like,
possibly like to speak, so I
Okay.
can't speak for them, but I see
Rick,
them.
do you have any other thing you want to add?
No, that's pretty
Okay.
good introductory information. I'm
All right,
open for
good.
questions and further discussion.
Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to speak to the issue? Yes, would you want to come forward and identify yourself?
My name's Mark Kranz. I bought the lot 1311 Fifth Avenue last spring. It was told to me it was a no-build zone behind me, the land behind me, because of the no-fly zone. In fact, even tall trees back there there'd be no houses back there because there is no access to that road. Because there's a dirt pile back there, and I was told all the dirt can come from that road, but you can't access it from the gravel road because that's a city road, just for the water treatment plant. I've also had issues with their land back there is like 4.5 feet higher than the curb height. So all their water runs to my lot. Now they had to come and pump it out this spring. I had the city engineer over there. My mom did. And it's supposed to be draining to the west. Well, I can't go any higher. And I just built a brand new house last summer. We don't have any water issues over there at all. None, except for that land that you're proposing here. And my concern is where you've got it is right behind my house. Right behind my house. That little corner there you're talking is right behind my house. That's the only place you're allowing them to build. And if I'm mistaken, I mean, I don't want to look out my yard and 9 feet from my lot line and see storage buildings. I mean, if I was a resident trying to put up a steel building in my backyard, you wouldn't allow it. So, is this gonna depreciate my property value? You know,
So your main concerns then is the drainage onto your property, and then
That's-
also that there might be storage sheds built on it?
right.
I
I
see.
mean, I want to see exactly where this whole lot back there is at least an acre. The whole thing from the dirt pile all the way, it's at least an acre. So, I mean, I've done construction work for 30 years, and if it's way out by the gravel road, that's one thing, but I'm not 10 feet off the lot line behind our houses. If
Was
that's
he-
the case, we're gonna have a huge privacy fence there, and but right now, number one, they gotta fix the drainage back there because they haven't developed their lot. So,
Rick, what can you tell us about the drainage issue? Is there issues provided for that, or?
Can you switch that to the other flat? Well, right now,
Jack.
right now, this is the drainage that comes off of the street. Oh, Jack Carr, I'm representing Steve Horning. Right now, this is the drainage that comes off of the streets and goes down this way. This proposed lot is from about right there to right there. The dirt pile will be gone. All the runoff from the buildings they'll have gutters on the back. They'll come around the back and they'll drain right into here. Everything off of the asphalt, that it'll all be taken down, so we'll be pretty much the height of what the residents' homes are there. So there won't be any water problems that I can foresee.
What about the storage shed issue? Are they allowed to build that in R3, Rick?
The storage, if that is in fact the ultimate land use, that is a special exception use according to the R3 zoning district. What that means is the applicant cannot come in and say, I want to build a storage shed here. They can come in and actually, they can ask the question. Staff can't issue the permit without the Board of Adjustment hearing and the notification to the community in the paper and to the adjacent landowners by certified mail.
So if anything was proposed like that, the neighbors would be given fair warning on that, and then they could appear in opposition to it.
Certainly, we can talk about the uses, and that's really what we're here to talk about, not site design issues and
Right,
drainage
right.
issues. We're talking about land use, and we can talk about that.
Well, let's wait and see if the property owner has anything else he'd like to talk to us about.
I just have one question before you leave, Rick. Was he given the information that that was a no-build zone behind him when he built his house?
Not from us that I'm aware of. I guess I'm not sure where that information was arrived from.
Who did you receive that from?
The realtor and there's another landowner.
Sure.
There's
Why-
another landowner.
I
And I'll-
have a question. When is that dirt pile going to be removed?
Be next spring. If this goes through, it'll be taken down. It's all the leftover dirt from the complete, the whole Westview addition. We left it there so that the homeowners could use it for building, or for bringing black dirt in for their yards and stuff. All the lots are sold now, there's no use for it, so it's gonna be level.
I do have all the signatures here, 6 of them. Now, they said they sent out 9 letters. I mean, I don't know who the other 3 are, but, I know there's one more gentleman here that owns the garage on the corner that you guys were talking about paving the road, and he would like to speak, but, I don't see any plot where this building's gonna be built. All I see is a proposal. I would like to see the actual building permit stating where it is, because I would have to do that.
And I guess you would have that opportunity when it comes before the Board of Adjustment. What we're discussing tonight is the rezoning.
Right.
And so, the main thing is that if there's going to be something proposed that you're not in favor of doing, you would be given fair warning of that, and then you and the neighbors can appear to, show your disfavor of that. So, but right now, we're talking about the rezoning is all, so.
Yeah, a year ago, was it a no-build zone back there?
I can't answer that question. Was it, Rick?
If I might. I don't think, from our perspective, the city's perspective, Mayor, and to the applicant, the area that we were most concerned about is a runway protection zone, and that's this line right here. If you can see it moving with the cursor, with the hand-shaped cursor.
Yep.
Okay. That's forming the backside of a trapezoidal shape, starting from the end of our runway. And that's, that would be the area that we're real concerned about maintaining open space and not having structures, et cetera. Again, we're talking about lot 16, and I really appreciate your point because you're dead on, Mayor. There's a lot, and I understand the concerns of the applicant, and when the time comes under the appropriate process, we will have those site plan details. But you hit the nail right on the head. Tonight we're talking about land use. Is it appropriate to rezone this from R2A into the R3? And if we could, if needed, I would like to share with you what we're talking about in terms of land uses in the R3 district. And we'll work our way through back to the R1 and the R2, but we're talking about things that can be the permitted uses. What can an applicant come in and ask for a permit, and assuming all the setbacks and et cetera, parking and all that is met, we can issue at staff level permits for multiple dwelling units and accessory structures, apartment buildings, is what that means. Townhomes, type 1 manufactured homes, which are the double wides, larger manufactured homes on a permanent foundation. You'll note that under the special exception, clinics as a special exception use would require oversight by the Board of Adjustment with the opportunity after notification of our community and notification of adjacent landowners by certified mail. Looking at clubs, lodges, community centers, commercial storage facilities. That seems to be a concern I'm hearing here. But we can go back, and I will. We'll go to the R2 zoning district. 2-family residential dwellings, townhomes and duplexes. What also can go there by special exception, licensed residential treatment or group homes, neighborhood commercial services such as small grocery areas, grocery stores, dairies, bakeries, those types of things, assisted living centers, mortuaries by special exception. And then in the R1, you'll see the single-family residential homes, public parks and playgrounds, modular homes as a use, and the special exception homes including daycare, nursing and convalescent homes, churches, libraries, hospitals, public utilities, things that we need as a community, parking areas, licensed daycares. Specific use office building will not apply in that location, but bed and breakfast by special exception could go there. And number 11 certainly will not apply. So that's what we're talking about. Does it make sense to go from the R1 and R2 uses to expand that a little bit to the R3?
Okay, I'd like to give the opportunity for the other property owner to come and speak to the council.
Yes, my name is Ernest Hedman. I live at 525 13th Street Northwest, and this will abut the back of my property. I bought that property 4 years ago from Tom and Ann Mowers, and Sherry Graff was the real estate agent that sold it to me, and they told me there would be no building behind my property, and that was 4 years ago. Now they're saying it's going to be a multiple use, multiple attached family. A year ago, a man came around to my house asking me about building there, and he said it would abut right against my property, storage units. And I said, no, I would not like that. And since this has been coming up again, I talked to a couple of real estate agents, and they told me by storage units going right on my property line like that, I could lose 25% of my property value overnight. And that does not make me happy. Plus, I was told that they'll have to have access by the county road there to that property, and it is non-paved now. And since my back garage back there is one that I will have to pay part of that paving process. I live on Social Security disability income and a disability. Paving is not a cheap project. Plus what I've been told when I bought the place and what the real estate agents have told me about property value with storage units going in right against your property. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to the issue? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go to council action to either approve or disapprove of ordinance number 07-27. Is there a motion?
Yes. Considering there's a number of issues here that have not been taken care of, I would move the refusal to accept this proposal at this time.
Okay, then there's a motion for the denial of ordinance 07-27. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Alderman Giselbeck. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion denied. What about number B, Rick? Is there any reason to go forward with that then?
I presume the record, Mayor, the record
Yes.
could probably reflect just the withdrawal of Resolution 0751. Jack, if you're willing to publicly withdraw that resolution, the plat approval tonight, you probably should.
What more do you need, for me to bring this back in front of the board?
I think what we'd like to probably have you do is to meet with those property owners and work out the issue. I think that the draining issue isn't something that is, I think they're willing to work with you on that, but they're very concerned about storage buildings. Can you assure them there won't be storage buildings built on that property? You can't, can you? No.
Mayor,
Which is something that's perfectly legal to do, it's just that that's what, something that they're concerned about, so.
Well, the thing was that the realtors told them that nothing could be built there, okay, as far as on the no-fly zone.
That's
You know,
correct.
I can go in there and put assisted living 30 feet in the air, block all our views, the whole distance of the lot. But, you know, I'll just,
Stan, would you help us here?
Mayor, I think that since the council has denied the adoption of the ordinance tonight, that my guess is that it ought to be brought back to the Plan Commission to have them look at it again and perhaps make a recommendation, because tonight you just now voted on the Plan Commission's recommendation and told them no. So I think that Mr. Carr probably needs to start back at the Plan Commission that made the recommendation that you just defeated.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
At the same time, I would recommend you visit with the landowners that are there now, and perhaps you can resolve some of these issues with them. Drainage is a major issue out there, and that certainly falls in line with what the proposal involves.
The other thing was, I believe we do need some sort of recommendation from Mr. Carr as related to the plating action, and my recommendation to you, Jack, would be to withdraw that action for tonight to bring it back to a later meeting.
I withdraw the plat first.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if this is the appropriate venue, but if drainage is the issue, that's a site plan issue, not a zoning issue. And I know the council has taken its action, but I'm not certain that there was full clarity here. If there's an issue with the land use, by all means, but there are site design issues that can be worked out in that Board of Adjustment venue and the building permit venue. But moving on.
Hold on a second. Can I rescind that? It still has to be platted.
Stan, would you okay with that?
Certainly, if they want to get a legal description for plating purposes,
Okay.
you can approve the plat tonight.
Okay, very good. We'll take that back. Well, then we'll move on to the plating approval, Resolution 07-51. Rick, is there anything you want to say about that?
Just a few things that are kind of unique to this project. The area to the north of this proposed site, the proposed plat area, is actually city property, so access was an issue at plat time. We also heard that drainage was an issue that we wanted to deal with at plat time. And to address those issues, because the area is so flat, we talked at the Plan Commission with the applicant that how do we get the access, how we deal with the drainage. How we do that is an urban section, a 38-foot wide, typical residential street, 38-foot wide, face of curb to face of curb, and the discussion is to one of the public's concern was, the first 150 or 200 feet here. What do we do with that? The answer is we don't know at this point how best to deal with that. There are things that we don't know about the future of the water filtration plant site. We are anticipating in the next few years anyway that the Municipal Utilities Department is going to expand that site. That might provide us with some terrific opportunities, quite honestly, to provide for paved surfaces to access that point back there. The Plan Commission recommended approval of the plat, and in doing so they recommended that as a condition of that plat approval that a letter of assurance be assigned, and the applicant agreed to pave. This dimension here is just under 70 feet, 69.86, and the applicant has agreed to build that section of street, almost 70 feet of street, 38-foot wide. So that is the commitment that Mr. Horning has made. What it's going to look like, we have written the letter of assurance, and we agree in concept, though it's not signed tonight, but we agree in concept that he will build the road or something equivalent to that dollar value. Again, we don't know what's going to make sense, and we want to coordinate that with the filtration plant expansion. Maybe it's going to make more sense just to have a narrower private access that could be paved there. So between Mr. Card and Mr. Horning's engineering firm consultant and our staff here, David Peterson, we can agree on what that value is, and the applicant is committed to constructing that value of a road. We also want to note that the letter of assurance contains a waiver of right to protest the installation of sidewalks or a trail, whichever might be applicable in that part of town, but only when the property just north there, which is city-owned property, might be in fact rededicated as public right-of-way. So with that, the Plan Commission has recommended the approval of the plat.
Don't we usually have those letters of assurance signed, and then we have the plat approval? Is that correct, Stanton?
We normally have those letters assigned. We are missing one number, and staff limitations just hasn't been able to allow us to fill in the blank. What is the value? And that's not the applicant's fault. We agree in concept, sir, if that's acceptable to you and the council.
Stanton, are you okay at that, or
I'm satisfied.
not?
with-
You are
the-
satisfied?
The only thing left is to fill in a numerical blank. We can get there.
Okay. May I have a motion then for the approval of resolution number 07-51?
So move.
Motion by Alderman York, is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Wilkins. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Rick. Item number 3, the requirements for a construction site runoff erosion and sediment control, ordinance number 07-30, has been withdrawn to a later date to make revisions from a meeting that was held with contractors and that, and so that will be brought up at a later date. Item number 4 is rezoning Lot 20 Andrews Industrial Edition, ordinance number 07-28 is first reading. Rick?
Thank you, Mayor, and I've brought up a screen just to show everyone where Lot 20 Andrews Industrial Edition is located. This area down in the lower right-hand corner is the Walmart Supercenter. This would be the Applebee's site here, 26th Street. The dedicated right-of-way for 26th Street is located here. Culver's is located here. This is the site, Lot 20. Okay, and you can see surrounding it, we've got C3 zoning districts surrounding it. We've got I-1 light industrial, the current zoning. Ordinance number 07-28 is an ordinance amending the zoning district boundaries of our community by rezoning Lot 20 Andrews Industrial Edition from I-1 light industrial district to R3 to C3 highway commercial.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Does the council have any questions, or? If not, then moving on to agenda item number 5 is the zoning designation for lots 17 through 25, block 17, and lots 1 through 8, block 18, Conrady edition, and that's ordinance number 07-29, which is first reading, and Rick, you'll lead us through that?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 07-29 is an ordinance amending the zoning district boundaries by zoning real property in the plat of lots 17 through 25, block 17, and lots 1 through 8, block 18 of Conrady edition. And I provide you a copy of the plat that we will be taking action on in 2 weeks. You can see the property is bounded on the north by 14th Avenue North and on the east by 19th Street East. What is being just to let you know, the zoning here is agriculture to the north in the county. To the northeast is agricultural in the county. The zoning here across 19th Street is C2 and a little bit of R3 as we move to the south, or the lower portions of the drawing. The developed properties within Conrady edition, the light and the dashed lines are already zoned R1, single family residential. The proposal is to zone and annex the properties. You can see properties 18 through 24, those lots will be zoned R1. Lots 17, located in the lower right-hand corner of the proposed plat area, and lot 25 in the upper left-hand corner, along with lots 1 through 6 of block 2 are anticipated for R2 zoning designation. The corners, the upper right-hand corners of the platted area, lots 7 and 8 are proposed as C2 local commercial. Any questions there?
Very good, then. Thank you, Rick. Agenda item number 6 is the tax incremental district number 4 to be dissolved, resolution 07-54. Stan, would you want to give us an explanation,
Thank
please?
you, Mayor. As the resolution makes clear, this is a tax incremental district that was created on July 16th of this year, and it includes land within the Pheasant Ridge Industrial Park. As you know from recent discussions between the city and the development company, the recommendation has been made to dissolve this tax incremental district and tonight, and at the October 15th meeting, another resolution is going to be brought before you to establish tax incremental district number 6, which is going to include all of the land that's currently in tax incremental District 4 plus a couple of additional lots. So we're still going to have a tax incremental district in the Pheasant Ridge Industrial Park. It's just going to be, this one's going to be dissolved and we're going to make it a little bigger.
Okay.
And state law does give us the authority to do this because we've expended no money and haven't adopted a project plan. So it's in its infancy, so it's right to do it now.
Okay, thank you, Stan. Is there a motion then for the approval of Resolution 07-54? Motion by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alderman Solberg. Any discussion or questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item number 7 is the authorization for the South Dakota Department of Transportation grant application in the Pheasant Ridge Drive project. That's Resolution 07-56. You've already given permission for me to sign the grant application, but the DOT would like to have an actual resolution. So if I may have a motion then for the approval of Resolution 07-56.
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Garnos. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8, the sale of Lot 1 of the Airport Industrial Second Edition to the Watertown Development Company. That's for an economic development purpose. Resolution 07-57. Stanton?
Thank you, Mayor. As the council knows, at your direction, I've negotiated the sale of Lot 1 in the Airport Industrial Second Edition. You recall that a couple meetings back, you approved the sale of Lot 2, which is the lot to the south. It's nestled between 14th Avenue and Highway 20, and the property's been appraised, and this lot contains 6.3 acres, and the appraised price was $12,000. So the total price to be paid at closing is $75,600, and I certainly recommend you sign or approve this resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into that agreement. And just for the council's benefit, as you recall, these transactions are always in 2 stages. State law allows us to convey the property to the Economic Development Company for an economic development purpose. They then in turn convey the property to the end buyer, which in this case is going to be Gary Steinmetz.
Is there a motion then for the approval of Resolution 07-57?
So move.
So moved by Alderman Meisenheimer, seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 9, the approval of installation of and funding in the amount of $525 for an historical marker at the Y on the Airport Drive. And Al, you were going to talk to us about that, and Herb too, if you need to.
Thank you. I was approached by some veterans about a year ago to see if we couldn't put a historical marker out by the airport. As you all know, that was a World War II training site, and that's how the airport initially got built. And total cost of it is $2,020. We had a service organization come forward with $1,500. I'm not asking for any money tonight. I think we can get it raised by other organizations. So, but basically what we're looking at is just to have a layout of what the map looked like in 1942, along with the legend beside it, and then exactly what the description of the airport was in the airfield. And we're taking it word for word from that plaque that's out there now. But we just want to put a historical marker because we feel it's important.
Okay, thank you, Al. Stan, do we need to do anything as far as a motion for approval or not, if there's no money involved?
It doesn't sound, I just presume that the applicant has talked with the folks upstairs to make certain that if there's that there's no sign permit issue, that we're going to be able to issue it as proposed.
There's a marker there already, so
Yeah, we're just replacing the marker with a historical marker, actually, is what we're doing.
if we need to figure that out, we will, but I don't see that it's in violation of anything to deal with our sign ordinance at this point in time. The only thing I would suggest is if for some reason, through the various organizations that Mr. Jansen is going to work with, if they can't come up with $2,020, I don't know if you want them to come back or if you would authorize whatever the difference might be to be expended at this point in time to save a second trip back.
Well, I know when you had, actually, Herb, you were the one that explained this to us at the Public Works meeting, and there was the Public Works Committee's recommendation that we go ahead and approve the amount of $525. So I guess if you run short of that amount, we would like to help with that. At
Appreciate
least
it.
that'd be the recommendation to the council, and I'll ask for a motion to that, so.
So move.
So moved by Alderman Wilkins. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So you're good to go, Al. Thank you. Agenda item number 10 is the final report on the Willow Creek 03 Drainage Master Plan. That has been withdrawn to a later date. Agenda item number 11 is an authorization for advance of travel expenses for 2 patrol officers to attend the K-9 training in Alabama. And Chief Vitek?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Ordinarily, city employees are reimbursed upon their return from travel. However, we have some unusual extenuating circumstances in that 2 of our officers will be traveling to Huntsville, Alabama for 5 weeks. And so therefore, I'm requesting authorization tonight for an advance of their per diem checks to make it a little bit more convenient for them since they'll be gone for 5 weeks.
And it's a large amount of money, isn't it?
Well, out of their pocket, yes, sir, it is.
Yes, it is. Okay.
So moved.
Okay, there's been a motion by Alderman Garnis to allow for the advance of travel expenses for the patrol officers. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Solberg. Any questions or discussion? Any idea as to how much that'll be
Yes, sir. It's about $1,324 per officer.
for each of them? So it'd be a
Yes, sir.
little over 2,000,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So there's been a motion to second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief Vitek. Item number 12 is the approval to write off uncollectible ambulance accounts receivable. Tracy, any comment or anything we need to discuss on that? Okay. Is there a motion then? May I have a motion then to approve the write-off of uncollectible ambulance accounts receivable?
So moved.
So moved by Alderwoman York. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Garnos. Any questions or discussion?
Just the number of dollars that are being written off this time. I see it's not on the agenda. Was that purposely left off?
It's included in your agenda
Supporting
packet, Mr.
documents,
Garnos.
Tracy? It's a little over $8,000. Was that it, Tracy?
$7,925.
Okay, very good. No, I lost my train of thought. Where were we on this? Is there a motion then? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 13 is the approval of construction contract change orders, and we'll begin with Mike Williams on number A, the Animal Nutrient Management System Project, change order number 1. That's Hilltop Fencing in the amount of $2,070.60. Mike?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'd like to say that we're just about ready to shut down construction for the year. We have a few projects that are going on. This one is about our 35th animal nutrient management system in the watershed, and we learn a little bit from each one. And what's happened at this particular site is that we discovered from the previous one we built that small calves were able to get out of there the way the fences were being built, so we decided to make some changes to build the fence so that real small calves can't get out of the lot. And this cost us about $2,000.
Okay, is there a motion then for the approval of change order number 1?
So moved.
So moved by Alderwoman Walder and seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Item number B is the Family Aquatic Center project. There's 2 change orders. Roger?
The supporting documentation is in there. It gives you a breakdown of each of the 2 change orders. The first one is with Karstensen Contracting. It's a deduct of $7,825, and that's broken down into 6 items that you can see there. And then the second change order is change order number 2 with Wanzik Construction. That's an add of $3,765, and that's also shown in a breakdown in the documentation, and it includes 3 particular items for that total. And I answer any questions?
May I have a motion to approve the change order number 4 and change order number 2 on the Family Aquatic Center project?
So moved.
So moved by Alderwoman York. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Heller. Any questions or discussion? Will there be any more coming, Roger?
Nope, that should be it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. C, Uptown Streetscape Project. Herb.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple of items, actually. As the agenda indicates, on the first item, there's 6 additional change orders for the Uptown project, amounting to a total increase of $6,914, and also a 10-day extension of the Gray construction contract. The various change orders in your packet come with the engineering department and urban renewal recommendation for approval. Consist of the first one being a remove and replace of some sidewalk on the west side of First Premier Bank for a total of $357. The second one is the installation of additional 13 feet of curb on the north end of South Broadway, and also the installation of a 2-foot wide strip at the approaches of the north and south end of Huron Broadway for an increase of $1,390 and a 2-day extension. The next one is the filling of 3 steam tunnels on the west side of Broadway. You know, we've done a number of those as we've gone through the Uptown area for a total of $2,019 and 3-day extension. The fourth is a replace driveway, remove the top and fill another steam tunnel over by Dugan's for an increase of $366 and a 1-day extension. The fifth is the replacement of additional sidewalk where there was a new light pole installed by Dugan's, again $369 and 1 additional day. And the last one in item C1 is the replacement of 166 linear feet of curb and gutter on the east side of South Broadway for an increase of $2,413 and 3 additional days, thus bringing the total to $6,914 and a 10-day extension. These change orders come with Public Works recommendation for approval from their September 11th and 25th meeting. The next item C2, involved working with First Premier Bank officials to determine the best way to eliminate a basement area on the west side of the bank, which basically impacted our contractor's ability to install electrical and water lines in the proper location behind the curb and gutter. What we couldn't do is just tear out sidewalk because we encountered, much like a steam tunnel, a great big hole basically that, you know, the bank had to decide to do something. As they looked at it, they found they had a very major expense and asked for some city participation. The Public Works Committee gave staff the authorization to work with the bank to see if we couldn't come up with some sort of reasonable solution with a limiting fee of $7,500. What we came up with would be very consistent with the way we've dealt with the steam tunnels. We offered to provide the P-rock material to fill the basement, and then I worked with their management team and offered to provide an additional $1,500 towards total concrete work. That came to about a third of what their total project was, and kept us within the $7,500 limiting factor that the Public Works Committee had recommended. So with that, what I would do is I would ask for a motion to approve all of the change orders as I've discussed with you, as well as the cost share agreement with First Premier Bank to not exceed $7,500.
And of course, the obvious question, where are we at on the budget on this one, Herb?
Once again, glad you asked. I've kept a running total, and with these change orders included and the work with First Premier Bank, we still have just short of $17,000 left in our budget, so we're still in the green.
Thank you, Herb. Is there a motion then to approve the Uptown Streetscape Project change orders? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Giselbeck. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Herb. D, 2007 Street and Alley Improvements, change order number 2, which is the final one, to McLaughlin and Schultz Incorporated in the amount of $199.79. And David Peterson?
Good evening. This is the final change order, and it's basically to adjust the quantities to the quantities that were actually installed on the project. And this comes to you with the recommendation of the Public Works Committee for approval.
Is there a motion then for the approval of change order number 2, the final one, to McLaughlin and Schultz Incorporated? So moved by Alderman Meisenheimer. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Dave. E, 11th Street East Storm Sewer Project, change order number 3, which is also a final one, to AP and Sons Construction Incorporated in the amount of $60,710.82. That would be a different amount than what's on your sheet. So, Dave?
Yes, this was also adjustment of the quantities for work actually completed. The big portion of the change on this was additional asphalt that we ended up having to install to reconstruct those streets when they were done. When the contractor was doing the excavation, he ran into some soils that were very sandy soils that the trenches wouldn't stand up, and there was undermining on the asphalt on both sides of the trench, so they had to cut out extra widths of trench and provide additional asphalt. And this was beyond what was expected on the project. So the actual asphalt quantities amounted to an increase of $63,553. So you can see that the other items on the project were a little less than what were anticipated, but the asphalt was a big problem. And this comes to you with the recommendation of the Public Works Committee for approval.
So actually, the actual amount then is not 60, it's 63?
No, the other items, when they were adjusted, were negative items.
Okay, I see. All right, thank you, Dave. Is there a motion then for the approval of the change order number 3, the final for the 11th Street East Storm Sewer Project? So moved by Alderman Garnos. Is there a seconded? Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Dave. Agenda item number 14 is the approval of business license applications. Gene Day Excavating Incorporated, pipe layer for $50. Wayne's Heating and Air Conditioning, gas fitting contractor for $100. Is there a motion to approve those business license applications? So moved by Alderwoman Walder. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 15 is the acknowledgement of notice of intent to conduct a raffle by the Watertown Women's Bowling Association. May I have a motion to acknowledge the raffle? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Garnos. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 16 is authorization for the mayor to sign an agreement for towing services for 1-year term. Stanton?
Why
Or
don't you
Chief
go ahead,
VTech,
Chief?
for one of you, I guess.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll probably tag team on this one. This is a request for authorization for the mayor to sign a agreement for towing services, and it comes to you with a recommendation of the Safety Committee. Essentially, we had 4 companies in the past, and we had one that vacated, created a vacancy, and that was H&R. And as a result of that, it's the recommendation that First Choice Towing fill that vacancy, so we'll stay with 4, being Crocker's Collisions, B&D Towing, First Choice, and Rogers Salvage. A couple of changes that I'll bring to your attention is that in the past, the contract was for 3 years. We're recommending this year that it only be for 1 year. Also, another change is that there's been a slight increase in the fees. One of the fee increases, non-city vehicles will go at a rate of $100 versus $75. City vehicles will be increased to $75 versus $50. In addition to that, this will be applicable only to the city of Watertown. In the past, because we sometimes dispatch for the Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Department, and Stanton has been in contact with Don Elshire, the county's attorney, and if they wish to piggyback, if you will, off of this, then so be it, but these rates will be applicable to the city only. Those are the primary ones in Stanton, unless I missed something.
Just for everyone's benefit, those on the council are aware, the towing services agreement is an arrangement with the towing companies that is just going to establish uniformity in Watertown. So if somebody has an accident or needs a tow and they call the dispatch center, when dispatch sends the towing company out, each week it's a different company on the rotation, but for consistency's sake, the rate is the same no matter which company it is on which week. So we don't own a towing company, and these folks are gracious enough to step up, so when the call comes in, we have someone we can dispatch.
Thank you, Chief Vitek. Thank you, Stan. Is there a motion then to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement for the towing services for 1 year?
So move.
So moved by Alderman Wilkins. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Solberg. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I got a question for Stanton. Did we get any response from the county to take care of their area?
I think the chief alluded to that. I shared with her that I've spoken to Dawn, and I've provided her a copy of the existing agreement. All of you are familiar with the agreement we have with the Sisseton, Wapaton, Oyate to provide the law enforcement and the EMT and the road services. Dawn and I have suggested perhaps coming up with an agreement that's similar, and that it would be between the city and the county, but the county would establish their own set of rates for travel, obviously outside the corporate limits. My expectation is that tomorrow she'll be visiting with the commission about that. I think that's her intention, and I guess if we have to bring something back to you for a slight modification to this one to make it more like the one we have with the casino up north, we'd do that. Otherwise, the county may come up with their own agreement separate.
Thank you, Stan. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 17 is a motion to approve the bills and payroll and authorize payment. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Heller. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now on the open, I'll refer to you to the handout. There are 2 items on the open. Number 1 being the endorsement of a proposal to establish a nonprofit corporation for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Karen Witt.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council, men and women. I have had proposed probably about 6 months to the Finance Committee that perhaps it's time to form a board of director or a board for the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Because of our growth, because of different missions that we have and different goals with the Chamber of Commerce, I find it's important that we move forward to achieve more things than we can do. So I had proposed that to the Finance Committee, and it's brought forth tonight.
And I believe that was, we were looking at like an advisory, it's a board that you could go to and ask questions and get feedback from with people that are in your industry. Is that correct, Karen?
That's correct.
Okay.
I have not at this time ever, I've been in this position for 9 years and have not ever had a board
Right.
of that capacity, and I feel it's very important. We've gone from a budget of $70,000 in 1994 to $192,000 at this point. So that issues come up, legislative issues that may not agree with the Chamber of Commerce. The other issue is that perhaps it's a fairness of everyone. Because I'm supported fully, completely by the BBB tax, the 1% that is collected, and not by any membership funds at all, that it's important that we sell all of Watertown and not just someone that belongs to a different member organization.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion then for the endorsement of a proposal to establish a nonprofit corporation for the Convention and Visitors Bureau?
Yes, I'd like to make that
Motion, okay.
For the City Council to endorse the proposal for an advisory board, complete with the proper nonprofit corporation legalities that are necessary.
With our city attorney?
Yes.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussion?
Just a question for the public. This will be a non-compensated board, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Item number 2 in the open is an authorization for additional work on the First Avenue Extension Project. Dave Peterson.
Good evening. There was an email sent out to all of the council members on Friday explaining what has happened out there on the First Avenue project. Basically what happened was when they were driving the piles for the abutments, it was spec'd that they were supposed to be driven 80 feet, each of the piles underneath the abutments. And when they were driving those piles, when they reached the 80 foot, they weren't getting the amount of bearing capacity that was required for supporting the bridge. So they end up that they had to keep driving those piles to get enough bearing capacity, and they were at about 120 feet that they had to have in there to get the bearing capacity. It's pretty well spelled out in DOT specs as far as how they will be compensated for additional piling, because it's not unusual for them to have to drive additional piling on bridges. And the email that I had sent to you showed that they were expecting $63,428 for the additional piles. Ardell Ossen, our consultant on the project, has visited with DOT and clarified what is actually allowed for the additional piles, and he tells me that they're only allowed $60,612 based upon the formulas that DOT has. So that should be the amount of the change order on the piles. There was also in the grading operations out there for the street, they also found some buried rubble, some very large concrete that has to be removed from the site, and estimated removal cost for that is based upon an hourly rate, but the contractor is estimated at $6,760. We're hoping that they can remove it for less than that. We feel that's probably going to be the maximum that it would cost to do that. So with that, the total for the change order we're expecting is $67,372. This did go to the Public Works Committee, and their recommendation was for approval.
Dave, when they did the soil borings out there, how did we miss that? I mean, that's kind of a question I had. Ardell, can you answer that?
While Ardell's coming up, let me clarify, this did not go to the Public Works Committee. This was came up on Friday issue. We discussed it with the mayor, and we discussed it with Alderman Garnos and York, and decided to allow the contractor continue to proceed so we didn't delay the project. So just so we're clear.
Right.
Ardell Austin with Austin Engineering. I'll try to answer that question as best I can. We did employ the services of an independent testing laboratory, which was Maxim out of Sioux Falls. They're a very large company. They do this kind of work all the time. Based on the borings that they put down, they felt they had accurately estimated the lengths of those piles. And then usually you add 5 foot to the anticipated length for a test pile, and then you drive the test pile, and then you order the rest of your piles after you've driven your test pile. Well, when we drove the test pile in, it was clear we did not have bearing, and so we added another 40 feet onto it, drove it down to 120 feet. We still didn't have bearing, but we left it set for 24 hours, which is outlined in our specifications, which are the same as the South Dakota Department of Transportation. And then you reoccupy that pile and you drive it, and at that point we had gained bearing, but it was 40 feet more than what was anticipated. When I talked to the Bruce Card from Maxim, his explanation to me as to how something like this could happen is that when you have an aquifer like the Big Sioux River aquifer and the Willow Creek aquifer that's there, and those water-bearing sand-type soils are somewhat unpredictable. And the method that we employed for the pile driving, which is identical to the DOT, we drove the piling in with DOT specifications and in the normal format that the DOT uses. He claims it's ultra conservative and that if we left these piling in long enough, they'd develop their bearing. Well, we just don't have the time to wait for that. Number one, the contractor has to drive a lot of these piles and he needs to move on to other projects and et cetera. And also the equipment that would be required to verify that is almost as expensive as driving the additional piling. I have had correspondence with the DOT out in Pierre, their foundation division, which deals with bridges all the time throughout the state of South Dakota. I discussed with them the procedures that we used and the method that we employed, and they confirmed to me that they would have done the same thing that we did, and that's drive more piling in the ground. It's too important a matter to leave to chance that they will in fact develop that skin friction on those piles over time. And we need 75 ton on each one of those piles. That's a pretty healthy load. And the 80 foot, in some instances, we were much less than that. Back to your initial question, how could this happen? The only definition that I've got is that the water with the vibration of that hammer creates a very slick line along that steel piling and enables it to just be continually driven deeper and deeper and deeper. And if we would have employed the testing services of this ultrasonic device that tests the actual strain on the pile, they claim that it gives you a better reading on the actual load-bearing capacity, but it's not normally used. In fact, the DOT doesn't use it. It's not an accepted practice currently. It's somewhat new and innovative, so to speak, and we didn't wish to employ that at this time. And the only thing you can do is get the pile further in the ground, develop more friction capability, and it's extremely unfortunate that it costs this much, but that bridge has to stay long-term. And obviously we got to get more support under it in order for it to do that.
Thank you, Ardell. Is there a motion then to approve the change orders for the First Avenue Extension project? So moved by Alderman Meisenheimer. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Arbogast. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Ardell. Item number 3, which was added later, is the advertisement for bids for the landfill lift station in Forest, Maine. And is Dave Peterson, you're going to handle that?
Yes. This is just to go out for bids for the lift station in Forest, Maine, for pumping leachate from the landfill into the city. This will make it so that they don't have to haul as many loads in, with trucks. They've been trucking it all in, and that gets to be quite an expense every year when we have spring runoff and that type of thing. So we're just asking for approval to advertise for bids.
Very good. Could I have a motion then for approval to advertise for bids for the landfill lift station in Forest, Maine project? So moved by Alderman Heller and seconded by Alderman Solberg. Any further questions or discussion? If not, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 19 is the old business. Is there any old business to come before the council? If not, moving on to number 20 is new business. Any new business to come before the council? Next, on item number 21 is liaison member reports. Does anyone have any liaison?
I don't have any liaison.
Member reports?
Nothing to report that
Okay.
way, but I'm sorry the rest of you didn't get Tuffy's memo to wear the Watertown shirt tonight.
I apologize for that. Okay. We will need to go in executive session in regards to some negotiations that are going on. If I could have a motion, please. So moved by Alderwoman Arbogast. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Giselbeck. All in favor say aye. Aye. opposed? We will go in executive session, and I do not anticipate there be any action taken when we reconvene. Thank you.